How to convince someone free will doesn't exist. What's up everyone, hope everything is well. Some time ago I made a video about free will and I wasn't really sure where I stood on it. Well, funny enough, I've changed my mind and I'm pretty sure free will doesn't exist. I always say that if in 20 years time, if I still have the same views and opinions and outlook of the world, then I have probably done something wrong. Because I always have to be improving and refining my ideas. So the illusion of free will is an interesting idea. Because for you to convince someone, or maybe even yourself, you have to let the idea sit and simmer a bit. And it's strange because if I show to you how 2 plus 2 works, and 2 plus 2 makes 4, then you'll never be able to unsee it. That's how logic works. If I show you that the sky is blue, then no matter how much people tell you that the sky is purple, you can never unsee the blue. And the free will argument works the same. Once it snaps and once you see it, you'll never be able to unsee it. So if I have to convince you, or you are going to convince someone, it's going to be difficult because people don't just believe in free will, they feel it. It's baked into how they experience every single moment of their lives. So if you walk up to someone and say, hey, free will is an illusion, they're going to look at you like you just told them that, the sky is purple. You're not going to win this with one sentence. You need a strategy. So today, I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide for actually having this conversation. And maybe, just maybe, getting someone to the other side. And stay tuned to the end because I'm pretty sure I'll give you some irrefutable evidence. So, step 1. Don't start with the conclusion. This is where most people blow it immediately. They open with free will is an illusion. And the other person's defenses go up immediately because now you are arguing, now you are in a debate and nobody changes their mind, they just dig in. Instead, start with a question. We are going to plant a seed. Let me ask you, do you think you could have made a completely different choice at any point in your life? Like, if we rewound time exactly, everything identical, could you have done something else? Most people would say yes, obviously. That's the intuition you're gently going to take apart. But you haven't challenged them yet. You've just got them thinking. That's all you need at this stage. So step 2, establish the 2 options. So let's lay some groundwork. Explain that when we talk about how anything happens, a thought, a decision, an action, there are really only two explanations. Either things happen deterministically, meaning every event is caused by prior events, like dominoes falling, or things happen randomly, meaning there's no prior causes. It just happens. That's it. Those are the only 2 options on the table. The universe is either deterministic or random, or some mixture of the 2, but let's not get into that. Most people are comfortable with determinism at a surface level. They get that lightning causes fire, that genes influence personality, that your upbringing shapes how you are. So walk them through it calmly. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose your genes. You didn't choose your culture, your family, your country, where you were born. And yet, all of these things combined produce the person sitting right there now, having this conversation with exactly these opinions and intrinsic values and reactions. The next thought they have, the next decision they made, is going to emerge from that entire history, from causes that they didn't create and couldn't have controlled. Think of breeding dogs. If I threw you in a cage with a pit bull, I wouldn't be surprised if it bit you because it's bred for that. It's in its genes. But if I threw you in a cage with, a Labrador, then I would expect it to play with you because it's in its nature. The genes were chosen over a long time for specific purposes. It was bred with certain attributes in mind. One did not choose to be friendly and the other aggressive. That's just how they are, predetermined. So what does your genes say about your nature and your choices? You can't help certain choices just as much as the pit bull that bit you. Step 3. Close the randomness escape hatch. Here's where a lot of people try to wiggle free. They'll say something like, but quantum mechanics, particles behave randomly. So maybe our brains have genuine randomness in them. And that's where free will exists. You need to close this door because it sounds compelling, but it actually makes things worse for them, or for the argument of free will. Ask them this. If you found out that your decision to order pasta instead of salad was the result of random quantum fluctuations in your brain, would that feel like freedom? Would that feel like you are making a choice? Of course not. That would feel like noise, like a glitch. Randomness, by definition, is something you are not in control of. If something is determined, you can't help but do it. If something is random, that's the very definition of being outside of your control. Either way, you are not the author. As the philosopher Schopenhauer put it, you can do whatever you will, but you cannot will what you will. You don't get to choose your desires. You just find out what they are. Step 4. The film experiment. This is where things get really interesting. And this is probably the most powerful tool you have in your conversation. It's a thought experiment, and you want to actually do it with the person in real time. All credit to Sam Harris, by the way. It goes as follows. Close your eyes and think of a movie. Any movie you want. You have complete freedom. All the films ever made are available to you. Take a moment. Pick one. Okay? Do you have one? Now ask yourself, how did this happen? How did you choose? Now think of all the movies that you didn't choose. Movies you know, but didn't come to mind. You know The Wizard of Oz exists. You've probably seen it. But maybe it didn't occur to you. Why not? You couldn't tell me. There's no answer. The neural circuits for that film just weren't firing at that particular moment, for reasons completely outside of your awareness or control. You are only ever going to pick from whatever films spontaneously surfaced. And you had zero say in which ones those were. Maybe 3 came to mind and you chose from that. But what's underneath the fog? From where did they emerge? Where did your options come from? Now push further. Among the films that did come to mind, why did you pick the one that you picked? You've got a story. You always have a story. Oh, I've been thinking about it lately. Or it's my favorite. Or I don't know, it just felt right. But here's the thing. The story is constructed after the choice has already happened. The psychological research on this is overwhelming. People consistently confabulate reasons for their choices. You make a decision and then your brain's storytelling module, what neuroscientists call the interpreter, jumps in with plausible sounding explanations. The choice came first. The reason came second. That's not free will. That's post hoc narration. In step 5, we are going to point to the science, the neuroscience. So here is where I hit you hard, or you hit your friend hard with the facts. Split brain patients, people who had the connection between their brains, between the 2 hemispheres, surgically cut. They call this part the corpus callosum, or however you say it. It's not my choice. So this surgery revealed something deeply strange about how we work. This is basically what researchers did. They gave instructions to one half of the brain. With the 2 halves not connected, the other half had no idea of the instructions. The patients would sit in a room. The patient was told to do as they wish until they get instructions. In the room, there is a water fountain. They would give the instruction to go and drink water. The patient would then stand up and drink water. The scientist would then enter the room and ask, "Why did you go and drink water?" The patient would then tell them with full conviction that they were thirsty. They told him that no, he got instructions. We gave you instructions to do so, and the patient pleaded with them, tried to convince them that she was genuinely thirsty, and did it out of their own free will. Scientists call this part in the brain the interpreter. Another famous experiment. The patient's one hemisphere saw a snow scene and then asked to point to a tool to use in the said snow scene. The patient's left hand then pointed to a shovel. The left hemisphere, or the right, I couldn't remember, hadn't seen the snow scene that prompted it. But when asked why his hand pointed to the shovel, the patient said, without hesitation, with full conviction, "You need a shovel to clean out a chicken shed." Completely wrong, completely confident. This is what our brains do constantly. The interpreter model takes in whatever information it has, including and observing our own behavior, and generates a story. That story feels like us. It feels like our reasoning, our will, our decision making. But it's a narration of events that have already happened beneath conscious awareness. Brain imaging studies reinforce this. Activity associated with decisions can be dictated in the brain before the person reports consciously making it. Then we become aware of it. Then we claim that we have made it. Step 6. So now we are going to address one of the most common problems coming up with the free will argument. So what is the point? At some point, probably around now, the person you're talking to is going to get a bit existential. They'll say something like, okay, but if none of this is in our control, why does anything matter? Why try? Why not just sit around and wait to see what happens? This is the most common misunderstanding, and it's actually easy to clear up. Determinism is not the same as fatalism. Your choices, your reasoning, your effort, they are all real causes in the world. They produce real effects. If someone decides to practice a skill every day for 5 years, they will become skilled, not because they were destined to, regardless of whatever they did, but precisely because of what they did. The decision is part of the causal chain. It's just that the decisions itself was also caused. Like a regression chain. Think of it this way. You can make a very compelling argument that a calculator has no free will. Every output is determined entirely by its input and its programming. And yet, the calculator's operations genuinely matter. They produce real results. Remove the calculator and you get different outcomes. Same with us. The choices we make are the proximate causes of our lives. They matter enormously. We just didn't author them from some magical place outside the causal order of the universe. That thing that we call free will. Step 7. So now we are going to show you, or the person you are convincing, the upside. Here's the move that often lands hardest. And it's also the most genuinely important one. Don't end the conversation on a bleak note. Because here's what actually changes when you let go of the traditional idea of free will. You stop hating people as much. I found that in my own life. Think about what it actually means when someone does something terrible. If you trace it back, their upbringing, their neurology, their circumstances, the thousands of things that shape them into the person capable of that action, the moral theory starts to soften. Not the consequences. You still need consequences. Society still needs to protect itself. None of that changes. But the vengeance, the sense that this person deserves to suffer because they could have simply chosen differently, that starts to dissolve. And the same applies inward. When you mess up, when you procrastinate, when you have a thought that you are ashamed of, you can hold yourself accountable without the crushing self-hatred that comes from believing you freely chose to be the worst part of yourself. You can just ask, what do I want to do differently? What causes can I set in motion to get different effects? We now believe that our decisions are causal. So to change them, change what you can. For example, the environment. Say someone is a murderer. Whether they choose to or not doesn't matter. But if we rehabilitate them and punish them, then society has fewer murderers that arises or that could arise in the future. We change the environment and thus the outcome. So how can I change or influence my decisions? That's a more useful question. And all this will arguably make or influence a more compassionate world. Okay, so look, you're probably not going to convert anyone in a single conversation. This idea takes time to settle. It certainly did take me some time. And for that matter, my friends that I discussed this with took a similar time to also grasp and accept it. But if you follow these steps, you'll give the conversation a real chance. Sooner or later, if you really caught their interest, then they will start to see the illusion of free will all around them. The goal isn't to win. The goal is to plant a seed. And what they do with it after that, well, that was never really up to them anyway. If you made it this far into the video, please like and subscribe. I would really like to know your thoughts and please comment. I would really like to get your guys' feedback and to hear if you could convert yourself or maybe someone else. And yeah, have a good one.